It's Wednesday. Let's chat. Hi, I'm Kannan Chandran, publisher of StormAsia.com, and this is our series of Wednesday chats, the WED WEB CHAT. Singapore is a city in a garden in a city. There's so many things that we want to be. We want to be green. This is something that was established a long time ago and has continued to bloom and grow. Now, do we want a garden in which we can enjoy the view, or do we want a garden which we can also eat? I think back in the turn of the 19th century, Singapore was exporting a lot of things from Gambia, nutmeg, cinnamon, among many other things. And until the 1970s, we had orchards, we had chickens and pig farms, and we thrived that were on the main island. By the 1990s, land for farming was reduced to less than 1% of the island. And in the 2000s, the emphasis was on productivity and technology to enable increased production of vegetables, fish, and eggs in limited spaces. Now, thinking around agriculture has changed and shifted, as it constantly does, and food security, and it's become a bit of a food industry as well, have kicked into gear. Now, we wanted to improve our food security, so we created jobs to get an economic advantage through value-added exports and to contribute to a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship. These are key words for Singapore as it rides this journey into the future. Now, we've also launched an initiative to have 30% of Singapore's nutritional needs met by 2030. Can we achieve that? In our panel today, for today's web chat on who will feed Singapore, we have Kenny Eng, who's Director and Principal Consultant of Gardenasia and the founder of the local farm. We have Nicholas Goh, also known as Farmer Nick, who is a founder of Nature's International Commodity, and Tan Chong Hui, who is a co-founder of JAH Tech, a deep tech firm producing a variety of products, and in relation to today's session, something called JAH Cultura. So welcome, gentlemen, to this session. And could we just start off with, Kenny, could you just tell us a bit about what you're doing and let the audience know who you are?
Hi, Kannan. Thanks for inviting, and thanks for coming and joining us in this webinar. It's a lunch hour chit chat. Well, myself, I'm a fourth generation farmer, so I'm in the horticulture line. So our company is 111 this year, and we basically do all things from plants to shrubs to flowers. But what was really interesting over my period of time is I realized that as the generation goes, we no longer grow plants anymore due to space, due to logistical, due to exchanges. We import close to 99% of our plants, as what we are talking today. But we up our value chain. We literally do a lot more landscaping services. We are consultancy. We do design and build, all sorts of things that's related to services. We grew the company. I was the ex-president of Kranji Countryside Association. I have met farmers around the world as well. And one thing that hits me very deeply itself is that what's the future of local farmers? At the end, food security is complex, but food is not. All right, because ultimately, farmers are entrepreneurs. Their objective is to grow. Their objective is to earn margin. Their objective is to increase demand, ultimately to attract talents and grow the business as well. So we curated the local farm recently because we have an ecosystem that we built. So under the local farm brand, we actually encompasses the way people can support local. Our mantra is no farmers, no food, as simple as that. If farmers have no incentive to grow food, there will be no food on your table. So we have to disrupt demand by creating an ecosystem that we simplify the way people buy local. So how we do it is that you can come to our restaurant. We have a bistro in our farm. We are situated in Kranji, where it's farm to table. You can actually just come here for a meal. Go to my grocer. My farmers produce are in there. Ready to eat products are in there. We just launched our gelatos with local vegetables recently. It's as simple as that. Buy our products, eat at our restaurant. Or, at the same time itself, we have created experiences. For example, you can come to our monthly market, first weekend of the month. So this coming weekend itself is our third local farm weekend. You can come by, experience the farm, experience the farmers market, understand what's going on with the farmers, etc. So basically, what we're trying to do here is to simplify the way you can buy local. And that's what we hope to achieve. And if you think that that is still not simple, how about, you can just donate to our partner called Food from the Heart. We have a campaign that we run with them, the charity called Farms to Family, where you can donate to the charity and we deliver weekly fresh produce to the beneficiary. So as you can see, it takes a whole village. It's not just us. We can only do that much. But ultimately, we just wanted to simplify the way you support local. And we hope that that is the fastest way for us to disrupt demand and to sustain agriculture.
Nicholas Go, could we hear a bit more about what you're doing?
Yeah, okay. So I have been doing farming my name is Nick. I've been farming for the past 11 years. I started off in Cambodia. I work with the Cambodian government, the community there, to develop farms. I actually built commercial farms for them. I have about 72 hectares of farmland myself, doing my own farming. In these years of farming, I have trained people to drive tractor, plow soil, graftings and stuff like that. So it's very detailed in terms of the agriculture, technical aspects of the business. So after about 10 years or 8 years, 9 years, I received an email from SFA and said that, would you like to come and bid for one of the multi-story car parks in Singapore? So I decided that, okay, sure, why not? Let's come back to Singapore and try it out. So, as you can see, my background behind that's the multi-story car park that we developed, and we are very community-based. We are commercial, but our model is very much on supplying the neighborhood, and we create a lot of community kind of events and activities. And I would say that the landscape of Singapore is one that is heading towards very into food security and food sustainability. But a lot of modeling for the business, for farming has to be re-strategized. It is not the traditional style of, I grow, I sell, that kind of thing. It has to be in a different mode and a different model. As for me, I personally like to farm, so I have been doing the hands-on a lot, and I thought that, this car park, actually, to be very frank, this car park is a luxury farming because, it's concrete floor, it's nice and smooth. You can push a trolley around. I think I've been farming in places where every time it rains, your whole foot stuck all the way in, and then your tractors get stuck. You got to think of how to pull it out and stuff like that. So I think Singapore has actually a very nice environment to grow. Yeah, when you talk about weather and all the other stuff. So I would love to continue to develop this urban rooftop farming and expand it all over the different communities, and see what are the potentials that are possibly coming up with the different partners, like, the local farms guys, and everything. We can work together. Yeah.
How did you get into farming, Nick, in the first place?
So 10 years ago, I thought that, the green business was something that was very there's a lot of potential. So I decided to start off I went overseas and I looked at all the different Southeast Asian countries where I can establish a farming business there. And actually, looking at different countries like Thailand, Vietnam, I realized, and Cambodia. Cambodia was best option simply because I could have 100% foreign ownership. And that place was, in a way, just starting out to build its technology and open up to foreign kind of a knowledge and experiential sharing. I am actually a commercial waste manufacturing company as well. I produce about 800 tons of compost a month, and we actually then expanded into agriculture and this business. And I thought that it was just an idea that I had, when I was younger. And then eventually I realized that it was very tough over the next few years. But, I always tell people when I jump into the river, I need to swim across. I can't swim backwards. So yeah, grit and patience, I basically survived through. And so now we are very established a company in Cambodia as a farm consultant, as well as a farm itself. And we are also a waste management company.
We are actually doing in Singapore. JAH Tech is our holding company, where JAH Cultura is our latest startup, focusing in the agriculture environment. So what we have is that over the past 24 years of research, we have come up with a ceramic alloy technology that is able to emit a specific terahertz field. And this field has a lot of different effect on different things. So we've tested in both the cosmetics, skincare, even things like stem cells. And now, after we did a study with Republic Polytechnic last year, it took them 6 months to grow various vegetables for us. And the result came back pretty amazing, I would say. So what we did is that with our ceramic alloy, we can actually affect water. So after treating the water, you use our water to irrigate your vegetables like bak choy, xiao bai cai, right? You get an increased yield of about 18%, 18+%. So the other way of using my technology is to affect the seed. So once I affect the seed and you plant the seed as per normal, both in terms of soil base or water base, right? What you get is an increased yield about 21%. So this is where we are coming out as a basis, where without additional power, fertilizer, we can actually improve the yield from farmers and help farmers hopefully get closer to the profitability that they're aiming for. So all these are done without the additional need of more fertilizer to buy, more chemicals to buy, or more power to put into the operation. Yeah. So this is our goal. Singapore is our main test bed, where we are now expanding across multiple countries. Working with people like Nick, we are in Singapore, of course, and also planning to go into places like Cambodia. And we are in talks with people in Malaysia, Indonesia, and some other places, including China. So we are trying to take our technology to the global audience, because the need is not just Singapore. I think this need for food security, the affordability of food is a global issue right now.
Okay, great. So how long has JAH Cultura been available?
JAH Cultura is a startup right now. So the technology-wise, it has been deployed at places like Nick's Farm since last year, last December.
Okay.
It was very kind, and we collaborated, and we got some very impressive results. So right now, at the end of this month, we're actually doing a launch, where we are launching our technology for the wider audience, that people can actually enjoy and use it at home. And also, we are starting to engage businesses that they can use our technology on a large industrial scale.
Okay, so with your technology, what does it entail? I mean, what is it made up of?
Oh, okay.
What will the end user get in hand?
So end user get in hand, we have come up with something that end user can actually enjoy easier. What we came up with is our JAH Cultura pack, and also our seed capsule. So what they can do is that they can actually put this pack into the soil of their plants, and they can actually water the plants through the pack, and the water will be activated, and the plant can actually absorb that. And the second one is actually our seed capsule, where they can actually put whatever seed they intend to plant at home into the capsule, and after a few days, they can start planting it, and the seed will be enhanced. So something very simple that they can use for home growers, things like that.
Okay, so you don't have to be too smart to be able to start something growing, right?
Easy to use, yeah. We aim for ease of use, yeah.
Okay, great. So Nicholas, you've been using it already, right? So what benefits have you seen using JAH Cultura?
I think the technology has helped us to, in a way, mitigate a lot of the fertilizer usage, the nutrient usage, and the beauty of it is the simplicity of integrating this technology into our systems. I think the selling point for many of us is that, with more technology, it creates more margin of errors. And I think with JAH Tech, it's quite simple, it's quite straightforward. And we have seen an increase in production as well, and of course, with the reduced use of fertilizers and raw materials, that's a cost saving as well. So I guess, that's actually basically, he already explained most of the results that has been shown.
Okay, and you've seen an improved yield as a result of it, right?
Definitely.
Okay, all right, cool. So it works. So what sort of plants do you offer for this? What
Yeah.
works with this technology? What kind of plants would work best?
So right now, because in terms of crops wise, right, as a startup and as a company, we are unable to test all crops at the same time. It takes time. So that's why we are actually coming out with engagement models with farmers to find out more of the other vegetables that we can bring the efficacy and the effect with. So at this point, plants that grow very well, and you can see the difference are things like bok choy, Chinese endives, your nai bai, leafy vegetables in the cabbage family. You see a lot of the effect, very significant effect in terms of the growth, the yield size. What we are hoping going forward, we'll also be talking to farmers that are growing seed-yielding crops like rice, wheat, or even things like potato, or even ginger and turmeric, plant-based. Because in terms of the yield, right, the scientists from Republic Polytechnic also mentioned to us that not only did the leaves of the plant grow bigger in terms of the number of leaves and also the larger yield, but the root system seems to be also bigger. So that got us thinking that, hey, maybe we can help with the potato, those that are growing underneath to improve that yield also.
Okay, so there are a lot of opportunities to explore and tap into. So coming back to the whole issue of providing 30% nutrition by 2030. Now, how realistic is that? How viable is that whole concept? Kenny, you've been dealing with the authorities and trying to manage things at Kranji. Is that something that you feel you can achieve?
Yeah, I think we don't have a choice. That's the key. Singapore basically imports more than 90% as our food security strategy, and it's COVID have also shown to many that the threat is real, that disruption is real, and money can't buy food.
Yeah.
You have tons of money, but you can't buy food. When you set a goal like such of 2030, based on just recent statistics by SFA, our egg farmer has already achieved the 30%. All right, our fish and our vegetables are just lagging behind. Fish is hovering around 8 to 10, and our vegetables is at 13%. So there is still quite a big gap for us to fill up in the years to come. But having said that itself, my only question and fear is always demand side of things in the city state, where we import 90% or more of food. Will people still buy local? Because at the end of the day, farmers can produce, but someone must buy. If nobody buys produce like from Nick or all the other farmers itself, frankly, it's not going to work.
Nick, could you just jump in and talk about your experiences with regards to meeting that 2030 objective?
Okay. I think we are steadily building this aspect of this 2030. I think the challenge here is, I agree with Kenny in terms of consumers. That's why I did say that the strategy to do this farming business cannot be a model whereby we are just producing and selling. It has to be something where we are able to create integrated kind of a venue where people are able to get a variety of things, which is the integration of convenience as well. So for my farm, we run on a membership, for example. We call it a farm club, for example. So they pay a monthly subscription, they come here and they harvest 2 kg of vegetables every week, and we do have supplies from my Cambodia produce like nuts, fruits, and other stuff that we so-called create a variety that we sell online as well. So I think when we're talking about a farming business, we also have to be very aware of the convenient aspect of what Kenny mentioned about being able to access all these other things as well. For us, we actually are quite comfortable with this size of micro kind of farm, because in Singapore, I think because I'm running a commercial farm and I understand what it means by scale. And when you don't have a scale, you are not able to produce constantly, on the daily basis to be able to sell out. Hence, you have to remodel your farm strategy. And it's either you're small or you're very big. If you're in the middle, you have operation costs to handle, you have things to manage, in terms of costs and labor and so forth, then you are neither here nor there. Therefore, you are not able to sustain the business. And I think in Singapore, that's what a lot of our farms are facing as well, because we are not scalable enough to compete with farms in Malaysia, for example. But we also are not small enough to be running like a 7-Eleven, for example. So that model or strategy has to be very clearly defined.
So, so you say yours is a small model, right?
Yes.
So is it best then to replicate that across many rooftops? Your place is in Tampines, right? If I'm not
Right.
mistaken.
That's right. Yeah, I feel that yes, that is the strategy that I'm probably going to head towards, where I'm going to create rooftop farms all over Singapore to supplement the community within that estate. I would want to become a Sheng Siong or NTUC, but I think they'll kill me. But eventually, but I think that's the whole idea. We want to create convenience. We want to say that, if you're looking for fresh produce, farm to table, just come down. It's downstairs at your doorstep. So I think that is a very possible way of achieving 2030 by 30, right? I think that's very practical. At the same time, we are also engaging a lot of community people to start growing, because they do supplement a lot of this 30% if we are really getting them to be involved. I think if you're talking about just depending on the commercial farms to produce that 30%, we probably will get quite stuck. Simply because of the constraints that we have in terms of land space. Yeah, so farming is a very high capital intensive kind of business as well. It is not as if like, it's a cheap business and the returns are high. So therefore, to get commercial people coming in to develop this business, right? When you count ROI, when you count, all that kind of different aspects of returns, right? Then you realize that this is not the ideal business to go into if you are just plainly talking about finances.
So what do you need?
So what you really do need is that you need to have a community to support your farm, not just labor, technology. You need a community. This community will able to help you to sustain your farm, not just by the purchasing of your vegetables, but also the labor, the ownership, that kind of thing. So I think that has very strong impact in community farms in a commercial commercial system.
Okay.
That's right.
So it's a business model that you're evolving, that you're trialing at the moment, right?
That's
You've
right.
got your
That's right.
club.
Yeah.
So how does that work? They pay you a monthly subscription and then they harvest a certain amount of produce each time.
That's right. That's right. So there is a limit that I can produce on my farm as well. So hence, we are actually looking at ways to increase the production as well as the variety to cater to the community. Like I said, we do have our own farms overseas, so we do import our own fruits, vegetables as well, and our local produce as well. I think for me, because I have live cameras in my Cambodia farms, and my customers who are buying online, they actually see what is being grown in the farm overseas, and they literally have a connection between what they are eating from their farm, what they're eating on their table to the farm, you see. So I think that's the uniqueness of what we are introducing now into Singapore consumer mindset. And yes, we are looking at creating this model, expanding this model, and we are not concerned about labor, because labor, to be very frank, this kind of farm scale, technically one person can handle it, or at least for me, one person I can handle the whole farm. Yeah, because it's really very small. So it is not so labor intensive until you need 10, 20 people running a farm, that kind of thing.
Okay. Kenny, would some of these practices apply in your area?
I think what Nick is sharing, also pardon my Wi-Fi earlier. So anyway, whatever that Nick has just shared is what you call decentralization of agriculture. That very huge base of education is very critical for the city folks to understand where the food comes from. So I think that part is a very critical part to the whole ecosystem. That one is no doubt about it. But from agriculture business perspective, where you are running it like the business itself, you need to be sustainable, all right? And the fact itself is that the number of growers in Singapore is reducing as we talk every day, all right? Due to the traditional farmers, even there is a huge surge of high-tech farmers are coming into play. The ecosystem, to me, at this present moment, is not robust enough. Like you had just shared, right? In the 60s itself, we export food. We are 106 or 4% in pork. We are 100% in fish, eggs, and vegetables. So the question itself is that 57 years later, we have less than 1% of the land is left for agriculture. So what is taken away from agriculture 57 years ago, I believe that agriculture is coming back to the city, all right, to come back in a very different manner so that we can still be relevant. We are still be able to be sustainable. I think the word sustainable can't be overemphasized. It's not just about sustainable farming in terms of climate change or in terms of sustainable technology. It's also about sustainable business for farmers to be there. As we are talking itself, majority of the farmers are better off being a trader, to be very frank with you. You know, why should we bother to wake up and worry about whether your food is safe for you? But if Singaporeans don't get it, if we still think that food is, why, the common question that I receive is this: overseas food, is it cheaper than local? My reply today to them is that overseas farmers are paid poorly. That's it. They are not a fair price. If the farmers are paid fairly, all right, and there is what we call a sustainable mother nature tax, the food will never be cheap. But just that because the farmers are not paid the right fare, that's why the food is always looking at economy of scale, economy of scale. Yes, economy of scale is there when you have large piece of land, all right? But at the end of the day, the farmers are still farmers. I have not seen enough farmers become multi-millionaires, multi-billionaires, you know. They are still farmers and they are just treated as farmers. So I think that the 30 by 30 itself, the food story that we have, will be as strong as our water story that we have. We have nothing in Singapore, but we are able to provide solutions because we are small and we are nimble. And what I predict that the solutions that we're going to provide, or what we are talking even for the local farm, we are solving urban problems. We are not solving agriculture as a whole. Agriculture is very big a word, all right? Those bigger farms in the agriculture state, they have bigger problems. But what we are trying to solve is a city problem. And I believe that Singapore has the solution, all right, in the next 10 years to come out with a city solution to bring back agriculture, to make agriculture sustainable in the city. Then all cities across the world will come to Singapore and we can cross our knowledge and transfer knowledge as well. Yeah.
Okay, good. Chong Hui, with your tech, deep tech stuff and your products, how much of these solutions can you offer to Nick and to Kenny, for instance, to improve the farming output for one, and also to make it more acceptable for the public? Because I think one of the things that came up is the fact that I think we are not a nation that is into gardening so much, because we all live in flats and we've been in apartments for such a long time. How do you get people back into the farming? Can your products be used to that end?
That's definite yes, definitely. Because in terms of our technology, what we are trying to do when we come up with products is to create things that are easily usable. So like you mentioned just now, you don't need to be well versed in deep tech to actually use a spray can, right? So we are incorporating our tech into spray cans, incorporating our tech into a capsule, into a simple pack that you can just shove it into the soil. So this, what we hope to do is to make growing either vegetables or plants something more fun. It's something that will be educational for the younger generation. So that will create an atmosphere where parents are more willing to let children test it out, grow it out. In fact, we are coming out with some startup kit, farming kit that we are giving out to certain influencers and also certain community to actually let them try it out and see how well they grow their own vegetables. So one aspect of not just food sustainability that's growing in the farms and growing on rooftop is the possibility of growing plants within their own homes. Right now, we are also talking to people that are selling hydroponic system, small, maybe like 3-tier, 4-tier system. We actually have 2 in our office where we are actually piloting and doing tests. one of our the person or the company that was selling to us, right, when they delivered the product to us, they got very interested in our technology and requested to test it out. And when they test it out, they saw the results. And they'll be coming out with a testimony from them. They told us that they were able to harvest the vegetable about a week earlier than what they used to. So these are things that they can even grow a bit at home. So of course, our home, you put a hydroponic system at home, you're not going to be totally reliant on it. But that will offset a certain level of sustainability and how do you call that? Less reliance on the external parties. So that is another area where our technology can help and contribute that. Because the hydroponic system is there, just drop my technology into the reservoir of water and you can actually treat the whole system. So simple as that. So we keep things as simple as possible for people to use. And hopefully this will bring them closer to and give them a better understanding of how hard it is to actually grow your own fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So I guess exposing people to it is one thing, and that's helpful. The other side of the equation, of course, is how are farmers, what conditions are farmers operating in? I mean, I just read there was one of the farms at Lim Chu Kang closed after 25 years just recently, and there are many others who have left the industry as well. And then there are lease issues with the land. What are some of the obstacles that you face in this regard, Kenny, and Nick as well? Because I'm sure your rooftop there's a certain amount of tenancy that you have to deal with there, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
so
go ahead, Nick. Yeah.
for me, right, I think because we are the pilot kind of project from the SFA government, so a lot of things they have yet to have any so-called systematic protocols. So we are really much based on the listed or rather previous kind of standards that they do for industrial commercial sites and all. So on a car park, right, basically we had a lot of red tapes and a lot of cannot do this, cannot do that based on the commercial kind of standards. But I think I see the government trying to adjust. They are trying very hard to see how they can accommodate to people like us. For me, because I have the farming experience, so the growing part is not really a problem. It's more of the external issues where they say, oh, you need to have water filtration system so that your fertilizer liquid don't flow into the drains and all that. So these are things that are very customized and very unique to Singapore per se lah. So but it's manageable, I would say. And yeah, I think these are just small little things that we have to deal with, and eventually we'll fine tune that system and we'll get there.
And how long do you have this farm for?
I understand
lease?
it's 3 years, the lease, and then there is a +3 eventually if things are going well, I guess,
Okay.
But I think we have seen the challenges of the past 9 car parks that was out for bidding, and then the latest one, another 5 more. And as you can see, there are not many out yet. Right, and I think those are due to the protocols, not so much about the farming guy, not so much about the company who is doing the farming.
Do you think 3 years is enough time to make this work?
For me, we are in a way profitable already.
Okay.
We are not. We look at things like you see, it really depends on the direction and the model of the company. If you are really solely selling vegetables, I think it will take forever to even look at profits. So in a way that we are integrated in a way that there is a lot of community, things that are going on, there's a lot of education things that are going on. So I think it's really about how Kenny did mention about decentralizing, it's talking about remodeling the urban farming. It's really urban farming. You cannot use the traditional commercial farming kind of strategy to work in an urban setting. And hence, so that's how it works.
Okay. Kenny, what's the experience been like for you? You've been out there for quite a while and your business has been operating for more than 100 years.
Yeah, I think land is always limited in Singapore. all right? There's no doubt about it. And, you know, from the current less than 1% of land left in Lim Chu Kang slated for agriculture, that says how much we need land in Singapore to grow us into the first world that we are today. But we have abundance of space, all right? It's just a matter of how we make use of space, how we rethink designs, how we rethink gardens, how we rethink we are going to build Singapore in the next 50 years. To me, you know, as long as the land is always been talked about, to me, it's always a losing battle, because there's only that much of land that we have. But as much as land is scarce, food is just as important. You know, when the disruption happens one day, when you really have no food coming into Singapore itself, I'm very sure, you know, even military lands have to be rebuilt into agriculture lands. What I'm trying to say is that, you know, we have to look at it seriously, that this threat and this disruption is real. And post-COVID itself, my predicament about the global de-globalizations of agriculture is going to happen. People will start to look at their agriculture sectors themselves seriously, and whether they should export more, import more. All this will affect us, Singapore, because we import 90%. So I think in that context, I think this is a serious problem. But of course, Singapore food security strategy has been very robust. We literally diversify the way that we buy food from different countries. That kept us going, and that kept Singapore strong in order to diversify the eggs into various baskets. But having said that itself, that can also be kind of, I would say that also the downside of our food security, because we are so robust, Singaporeans don't feel a threat, that food is always there for us. We feel safe. The moment that happens itself, people may not have the incentive to even think about food in general. So when there is no such inclination of Singaporeans to say that this is our DNA, that we need to do something about it, people will just take it that every day there will be still food on the table. Yeah, food prices have gone up tremendously. The amount of meat that you have in the dish has shrunk a lot. You get more noodles now, but no more fishball, no more meat. You know, everybody knew about the inflation that has gone up. But I think, I just hope that it will not happen till one day that we really have a bad disruption, all right? And we can't keep depending on government. I mean, because there's only that much they can do for Singapore. I think we as individual, regardless of who we are here, you know, whether it's Chong Hui, whether it's Nick, you know, myself or the farmers, it's about time that people relook into agriculture as part of their lifestyle, because it's a cornerstone of civilization anyway. So it's just a matter of how we relook. I mean, I always say this joke, right? 111 years ago, my great-grandpa planted trees. Nobody say he's good. Today, corporate plant trees, you're saving the world. You know, it's just one big cycle. 111 years ago, everything was organic. Man created fertilizer, then suddenly now organic is the way to go. So if you really think about it, we are not talking about something very high-tech. It's just basic of what food is being produced that we need to eat. Question is that tech is going to simplify a lot of things. That's what Chong Hui has said. And what Nick has done in the Cambodia in the big scale farming. These are needed because that big scale also have a big scale problem. Because if you look at the global needs of wheat, you know, with this Russia disruption itself, wheat is not just for us humans, but it's also for animals. It's also for other purposes as well. When that is being disrupted, the whole ecosystem is being disrupted. So I think we have to understand that we are part of the ecosystem. We are not silo. We can't do this alone. You know, whatever that we do here has an impact on the partners that's around us, the people that needs us as well. So I think, yeah, that's how I see it. So land itself has always been an issue in Singapore itself. Our lease is always very short. You know, but if you really put the money where your mouth is itself, you need to make a big vision and say, okay, this is slated for agriculture. That's it for life. All right, then you'll see people will start to invest in the place, invest in technology, invest in infrastructure. Then you can really do good. But if your land lease is always so short, like even for Nick, it's just 3 + 3 + 3. Our farmland is 20, some is 10 + 10, some is 3 + 3 + 3. With that kind of lease term, it's very difficult for anyone to see ROI. By the time you get your soil ready, your technology back, you'll be gone by then. So I think it's very challenging, yeah.
So
for
it's
me,
very
I would like
difficult
to
for you to harvest on your own returns, right? Yeah. Sorry, Nick. Yeah.
I would like to add on also, and one of the key things I see is educating people's mindset. I think a lot of emphasis is has to be also built on the people who are doing the farming. Like I what I understand is that in the West, farmers are like regarded like doctors. There's an importance in that role. And I think in Southeast Asia generally we have that culture of poor farmers, like what Kelly said. So I think there's also there has to be a certain emphasis in the pride and joy of doing this role, and that encourages the younger generation to come in, and get involved. I think one of the lacking things about this industry is younger people wanting to come in, and getting their hands dirty, because like I said, there are many other avenues where you can actually earn better money in a more comfortable environment. That's simply because there is also not much of a recognition for this particular role of people, this group of people. And I think that might be one of the ways that we can encourage younger generations to come in to do this.
How many younger generation people are in this industry? Do you know?
I wouldn't know much. I think probably Kenny would know it better.
Anybody has it?
I don't have the statistics, but just based on the courses that have started by polytechnics and ITE, that you can see over the years they have actually ramped up that kind of interest group, and by the sheer 5 years of new startups of people coming in to do high-tech farming, and majority are young. So you can see that there is a growing interest in this space as well. But having said that, that is only a growing interest. All right, because the moment you dabble into it, like, not everybody is as experienced as Nick, that has a huge background of knowledge about farming. So he knows that coming here itself, he say one person can manage the whole rooftop. This is not how a startup would think. They will think that they need 5 people to manage it, one marketing, one this, one that, etc. They raise funds, they try to do, etc. How many people who started high-tech farming is really with the pure passion of growing food for people to eat? How many? Majority are just selling techs. So if they just sell tech, my question next is then who is going to grow food? It's not easy. It's really not, there's no right answer to this. But if you ask me, are there more young people? Many. And my daughters from different age group, from kindergarten to secondary school, all right, all of them have gone through at least one session in their class to talk about agriculture. They will come back and tell me, oh, teacher told us about farming. Teacher tell us that Singapore land is scarce, we need to go high-tech. I think the government is really trying the best to infuse this into our DNA. But it will take at least another decade or two.
Yeah.
It's not straightforward. You can't change overnight. It's impossible. Yeah.
I'm also a bit concerned about the emphasis, because actually, to me, it's farming first, technology second. But it seems like Singapore is emphasizing a lot on technology, you see. And that can be a bit scary, because, technology without the farming is...
it's all about people, right?
Yeah, I think in terms of goals, I think for what we do see is that farmers are the foundation for this sustainability. Without farmers, I don't think what technologies that come online will be able to help us achieve our goal if we don't have the farmers. Technology like ours is just a supporting role. We help to deliver better. We help to simplify a few things, but we are not the foundation. We are just the add-on, to give you the extra boost. We cannot be the only one doing it. So we can't do it without you guys. And you guys probably will be able to do better with us. I think that's what we hope to achieve.
So how can we build this interest in farming? Because it needs to be from a young age that you get exposed to this, and then it becomes part of your routine as such. How do we build up that interest?
I think it's really started. I mean, since the 30-30 food story that was being sanctioned by government, the ecosystem has started even from kids as young as 5 years old today. So in order to see the benefit, you will have to wait for 20 years later when they become a teenager, they start working. They have brought up that way. Then 20 years later, you get to see the results. So I'm very bullish about the future of food in Singapore, but we have to be patient. The problem I fear, like what Nick is saying, is that everybody wants quick response, quick returns. how can it be quick? Even the vegetable take weeks to harvest, So it's a matter of understanding the big picture itself and ensuring that the ecosystem itself is robust. Right now, it's still very disruptive. Every agencies are not talking to every agencies yet because it's still not clear what they can do. Not that they are not helping. Everybody is trying to help, but somehow the ball is pushed at different angle. The ball just doesn't move. The ball just stuck there. Everybody is pushing very hard. All right. So I think it's very important to have someone to really pull everybody to be the same spot and everybody, let's push from this point, and then you start to see the ball rolling. Yeah, because if not, right, if everybody is pushing hard but all at different point, frankly, 5 years later, we come back to this conversation, we still face the same challenge.
Counterproductive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nick, do you have a view on that as well?
Yeah, I agree with Kenny. I mean, for me, the government can decide what they want to do and they can go around setting up their protocols. But as far as I'm concerned, the farm just goes. Whatever it is, at the end of the day, there should be vegetables on the farm, weekly basis, daily basis. So that is my role and that's my job, you see. And I push in that way where I'm just responsible for my roles to keep producing. And I think that should be all farmers' mindset, while the government is sorting out their policies as well as their system. Because I don't think we should be waiting for each other in a way. And yes, technology is important to integrate like JAH Tech and stuff like that is in. But I think what Kenny said is true. People have to have the passion to understand that what they are doing is something very important in the society. It is a responsibility. It's in a way a calling to become a farmer as well. To grow this and to be contributing to the society. When they see a greater picture and a greater role, I feel that the younger people will be more motivated, especially the millennial Zs, because they are the ones who are very comfortable growing up over this period of time, and they have no lacking in a lot of these things. So when you ask them to grow their own food and they have to wait patiently under the sun and rain, that would be the greater challenge, and I see, yeah.
I just want to add on as well. I mean, I recently, a couple of months ago, I read a report, I think kind of like, everything will fall into place nicely. You know why? Because the millennials and the General Z, they grew up with an iPhone or a smartphone. They swipe. And as they grow up, right, what excites them is no longer about VR, IR, or AR, or deep tech, etc. Because that is a way of life to them. What will be excitable in their 10 years from today is to see how a vegetable grows from seeds. So you can see that it will bring back to the basic again, right? Because when you have too much of technology, you are living in the virtual world. All right, you just feel that, wow, the tree is so much more refreshing. I long to go to nature. So I personally feel that everything is just going back in one big cycle, all right, whereby we will head back to the basic of how nature has provided for us, and we are just going to go back to where we have to give back to nature as well. And especially what Nick has shared, the younger generation itself, majority understood where we are going. All right, just that the foundation and the platform and the ecosystem is not robust enough, and which I'm a bit fearful because I've seen too many youngsters over the years got burned out when they joined the industry.
That's right.
They got disappointed. 3 years later, they got burned out. They left the industry disappointed.
That's right.
And that is not healthy for our industry, because if they continue to burn out, all right, and they start to give negative feedback about this industry, then how would they expect the future industry younger generation to join us? It's going to be tough. Yeah,
I think the question I asked many of the parents who talk to me regarding this farming, they said, would you tell your children, next time if you want to become a farmer, sure, you have my support? It has to reach that kind of stability, basically.
Yeah. It has to reach a level of acceptance. I mean, the farming community was an accepted sort of occupation in the past, and then it's given way to a lot of things, right?
It will happen. The farmers, as long as, I think personally, I feel that, as long as we just keep on making the farmers better, richer, they are now going to be the top 50 companies in Singapore, the parents will change naturally.
Yeah.
So
I hope to do that too.
The trick is to get to that stage, right?
Yeah, and we have to.
We've exceeded the time limit, so it's been it sort of took slow to grow, but it's sort of blossoming now, the discussion. So a bit sad to have to stop it, but Chong Hui, Nicholas, and Kenny, thanks for
you.
all the inputs about the industry, because I think it's one that we need to get our hands dirty with. We need to get in there and understand what it is a bit more. As one of the audience participants said, Suyong said, 1 month of every NS person's life should be spent growing vegetables and learning about agriculture, and ladies can be conscripted too. So,
Why not? Why not? Right?
yeah, actually, why not? Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
If we can dig
it
trench,
helps
why
in the
can't we
long.
dig farms?
Yeah, I'm sure we
Exactly.
can. I'm sure we
Yeah.
can.
So it's about building that awareness all the time, right?
Yeah.
So thank you again, everybody, for. I think this is a topic that will resurface many times, because we need to watch it and see how it's growing, and see what's bearing fruit and what isn't, as we proceed down this path towards 30 by 30. But once again, thanks again for being on the session, and thank you,
Thank you.
for being here, and keep continuing growing your gardens.
All right. Thank you.